Roel pins her with his knees and tries to choke her again. Cataleya's vision blurs, but she reaches for a shattered circuit board nearby. She jams it into Roel's arm, shocking him with a burst of electricity. Roel recoils, screaming as electricity surges through his arm. Cataleya pushes him off and crawls toward the console. The upload now reads 96%. Roel staggers to his feet, shaking off the shock. He grabs Cataleya's leg and drags her back, slamming her onto the floor. Cataleya flips onto her back and kicks Roel square in the chest, sending him crashing into a metal railing. She pulls herself up and grabs a heavy wrench lying nearby. Roel approaches again, but she swings the wrench with full force, striking him in the shoulder. He groans in pain but retaliates by punching her ribs. Both fighters are battered, bruised, and exhausted. Cataleya glances at the console, 98%. She knows the only way to stop the upload is to destroy the main column completely. She tightens her grip on the wrench, prepared for the final strike. Cataleya charges toward the console with the wrench raised high. Roel lunges at her, screaming, "No!" She swings the wrench down with every ounce of strength left in her body. The impact cracks the server column, causing sparks to explode outward. The lights flicker violently. Roel tackles her, but it's too late. The console begins to short-circuit. Cataleya kicks him off, grabs a live wire, and slams it into the broken column. A surge of electricity erupts, frying the entire upload system. Flames burst from the central core, and alarms blare through the chamber. Roel roars in anger as the upload collapses at 99%. He charges one last time, but Cataleya sidesteps and uses his momentum to throw him into the burning console. The explosion throws both of them to the ground. Smoke fills the room as the intelligence grid goes offline. Roel's plan is destroyed. Cataleya crawls through the ventilation ducts of the intelligence grid facility, her body shaking with exhaustion. Her wounds sting with every movement, but she forces herself forward. Once she reaches an exterior maintenance hatch, she kicks it open and emerges onto a rooftop overlooking Berlin's skyline. Cold night